The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Variety Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericavariety.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Strategies for Financial Survival with Michael Figueroa. When financial adversity hits, and it very well may hit you, it's those that educate themselves and use their skills that will survive, no matter what field you're in. Now, here's your host, Michael Figueroa.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to, it looks like, episode 5 today. Well, today we're going to talk with a good friend of mine and real estate broker, Brenda Waddell, and we're going to talk about how to buy and flip houses in the real estate business today on a very short basis, because this is a subject that you can talk about for weeks on end, and I've done seminars on this where it can be days on end. So we're consolidating a lot just to give everyone an idea of what we're going to be doing. So one of the things that got me going in the business that was very important, and I think I had mentioned to people over the time we've been on the show, is I, for one, having gone to the University of Arizona to study Chinese and then went into studying law and tax, I got into the real estate buying, fixing, and flipping house business by sheer accident. And what we're going to do is talk today to Brenda, who is someone that I work with now in this same business. And what I know most people want to hear is, how do we get started in this type of arrangement? And as I was mentioning to Brenda, what people mostly want to hear is somebody is being laid off, or they had enough of that boss that they just can't take anymore and they want to go on their own. And what triggers someone to say, I think I'm going to do something and get out of where I'm at? And so in this case here, Brenda was not working for someone, but she got into the buying and flipping of houses over time, which we're going to go into, and how she started and what triggered those issues. So today, let me have Brenda. Brenda, give us a little background on who you are and what you're doing right now, and then I'd like to go into how you started out becoming someone that is doing business in the real estate and versus something else. Shoot.
Okay. Well, I'm Brenda Waddell, and I've been selling real estate for 27 years now. My first investment property was actually one that I bought with my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband. Found a property and really thought it had a lot of potential. It was ugly, and we bought that. And changed it, painted it, made it look better. People thought we could sell it for $10,000 more. I certainly thought that was a great idea, other than that we did finally get married, and we did stay there as our own home. I've helped a number of people find the properties to flip. So I I look for the good homes in nice areas. But if you're going to get into this business, I suggest you start out smaller and then find your way, once you know what you're doing, into moving into the larger projects. Mike?
Brenda, let me point out or start you since you mentioned this. So give us an idea of how you started exactly from day one. How old were you when you decided to get into the real estate business, and why?
Well, I was 25 years old, and I had already taken the real estate broker licensing course at the university. My career wasn't going anywhere, so I decided to go ahead and take the exam and start working in real estate. I've always had enjoyed looking at houses and finding properties and seeing the potential of what could be. So I started at 27. I had to work part-time to support my real estate habit for a number of years, until shortly after I had my second child, and then I really worked at real estate full time while I was raising children. It was a great career. It gave me the flexibility to also spend time, work from home, be able to spend time with my family, and also earn money. It is a job of juggling, though, always.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that are looking at this and they have the issue of raising their kids and needing that flexibility so that they don't have to punch in at 8 to 5 job. And that's the whole benefit of this type of program, is you have the flexibility to be able to do this. So going back to this situation, I take it, how did you raise money to be able to have the freedom to do the real estate education and then work?
Oh, I just worked really hard for a number of years. I worked nights at a hotel here doing banquets to support my real estate so that I could put gas in my car to take clients out. When I started in this business, in 1985, the interest rates were 13.5%. So it was quite a challenge for people to qualify for homes, even though the home prices were down. Were lower, but the effective monthly payment was so very high. We also, at that time, the interest rates had just come down from historic highs of almost 18%. So actually, a lot of people were getting into the market at that point in time just because, wow, interest rates were below 14. It's amazing how perspective changes over time. We now have 3% interest, and people aren't really interested in buying their own homes. The prices are good now. The interest rates are wonderful if you can qualify. It's always a good start by buying a home. That's one of the ways my husband and I got started. We saw that I showed the home property to another client of mine, and they weren't interested in buying it. And my boyfriend at the time, now husband, he only got to see the one house. We were able to buy it through FHA financing. We needed to put 3% down. He had a job with W-2 income. I was self-employed, so I couldn't get financing. So it was all in his name. And since we were going to get married, I gifted him that 3% down, which happened to be my commission on the sale. So that's how we got started. When we were going to do another property that we wanted to buy, our property had increased in value enough because of the things that we had done with it that we were able to refinance it, pull cash out. And since we had 9.5%, when we did that, the interest rates were at 6% interest. So effectively, we got $15,000 out of the property and lowered our monthly mortgage payment. It seemed like a win-win situation at the time. And that helped us get going on buying other properties.
Let me take you back a minute here, where you decided to go into the real estate business. So I take it you're raising the family and you've got the other jobs going. What was the first thing you did? I take it you went to real estate school, graduated out of that, got your courses done. But what did you first do to look at properties? Did you watch the newspaper, the polls? Give us a little basic background in that world, how the exact start started.
Oh, well, I had always been interested in property from a very young age. When my parents built out in the Tanque Verde Valley, my father took me around and we looked at lots and lots and lots for a couple of afternoons, and then we went to every home that was model home and home construction for the designing and building of the house. So then my mother owned tons of rental properties also for a long time and was buying and selling. So I would go and look at properties with her, and it's something I have always been interested in. So it was something that I had a pretty good working knowledge of prior to even getting into the business, just because of natural curiosity, and seeing how homes are built from the ground up. Going through that, my dad and I would go to the job site almost every day and see how it was progressing. So had a very good knowledge of where that was, and you can simply get informed yourself by looking at new construction, knowing what people want. At that point in time, we didn't have all the do-it-yourself network. Heck, we didn't even have internet. So the MLS book, what came out every 2 weeks, with pictures in it, and you had to buy the book so that you could flip through it. It was not as easy to get the information that we now have readily accessible at our fingertips. We had microfiche cards. A lot of times you had to run down places. So the business has changed dramatically, but so now it's even easier. There's such a wealth of information at people's fingertips through the internet, through the newspapers, to know what's going on in your community as far as sales and prices and where the markets are.
So going down a performer per se, so now you've got established how you started the business. So let's talk a little bit about how did you find money when you were looking at property and you'd go around and find some good deals. Now you needed funding for that. How did that happen?
Well, first, when all other avenues are exhausted, family and friends sometimes can be helpful for that. Otherwise, there are the money lenders. When I was talking about 13% interest, which was a FHA loan at the time, makes what hard money lenders are charging now for hard money loans look pretty cheap in comparison. But you do have to, pardon?
So when I'm thinking, when I had to find money in those days, I would do a analysis of the property, what it would sell for once it was fixed up, less the cost of sale, less the renovation, and then I would know what my net profit was. And so I would try to, and the other issue is this, I would try to get a partner originally who would put up the money and I'd split the profit. Later on, I would arrange to have the investor take a loan on the property or loan me the money so that I could acquire the property, and he got a first mortgage on the property and got his monthly interest payments, and then when I sold the property, he got paid off. So did you go I'll borrow the money from the investor, or did you have to initially partner with someone and split profits?
I've done it both ways. I have partnered with people and split profits, and I've also actually, I was very lucky that I could go with traditional financing for many years. But I know right now that's not an actual reality for the investors that I work with. The guys who are doing the fix and flips right now, the reality is people who are getting into this business don't have the credit that they need to go in traditional routes. So you can always find a partner, you can have family members, but the investor, if you can find an investor who will back you and make and you make the payments to that, if once you're secure and you know what you're doing, that's probably a really good idea. I think the joint ventures also work really nicely, and as you said, it has to be, the properties do have to be looked at very carefully. You have to analyze what the costs are, and take into account that there will be some hidden costs when you're doing these renovations also that you might not be aware of when you're first looking at the property.
So I'm thinking of this. You're a 26-year-old person who's just starting out, and let's say I have funds. What's going to induce me to make a loan to you or venture with you with no experience? How did you cross that bridge?
By bringing in a complete package to the investor, by analyzing the property, making sure that the comparables where the buying was, what the actual cost would be to complete the renovations, and then what the potential profit would be. You always have to look at that with your eyes wide open. There will be some hidden costs, and sometimes the markets change, as we both know. What was working 6 months ago probably won't be working in 6 months from now.
Yeah, I know. One of the things that I had to do when I started out, and based on your mother's and father's experience in the business, I had to find someone that was a real estate agent broker to give me the setup for how to do the analysis, effectively the formula that I could then plug in my numbers so that I knew whether it would make sense or not. And so you're saying, like I would be doing, I'd approach investor through some connect, and that's one of the areas that we're going to be coming up to break soon. So, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how you found any investors and how that occurred. And of course, I can explain how you and I met, which was really good. But I found that having that formula and being able to plug the numbers in and being really confident about your ability to make that transaction happen really helped a great deal in getting that investor to say, okay, I think I'll take a shot with this guy and see what happens here. Now, one of the other things I'd like to mention that we'll talk about, because I see we have 30 seconds before break, is what convinces the investor to go with you as a JV or a lender. So let me cut for now. We'll go to a break and then come back and talk further about how to get a lender partner and what makes them bite and say, I'm in, I'm willing to do it. Okay, we are going to break now.
the Internet's #1 talk station. #1 talk station. VoiceAmerica.com. At Intuitive Strategies, LLC, we provide services to our clients that help them develop a strong education in business. And we also help them to develop a strategy that will allow them to turn their skills into a profit, protect their business and personal assets, and plan for a successful retirement. Our consulting and structuring services include business analysis, budget analysis, management analysis, ability to raise capital from investors, tax planning to minimize tax liability under code, as well as legal structure to protect business from frivolous lawsuits. Intuitive Strategies also provides document preparation services, such as business structuring documents, documents that establish an entity, management agreements, retirement plans, estate planning, wills, and trusts. Let Intuitive Strategies help you with your business. Visit intuitivestartup.com or call us in Tucson at 520-425-8759. Visit intuitivestartup.com today. Stimulating talk
gets those synapses in the brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 Internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com. You are listening to Strategies for Financial Survival with your host, Michael Figueroa. If you have a question or comment about the program, please send us an email to support@intuitivestartup.com. That's support@intuitivestartup.com. Now, back to Strategies for Financial Survival.
Welcome back, everyone. So we're going to go into now how you find the transaction or the property to buy. And I know in my work in business with Brenda, she's out there finding the deals, and because I know how to evaluate them, I look at her data and then fund them. But go to the part of Brenda going out there. Explain, Brenda, how you find these deals and what happens. Give us the process.
Well, it's been an exciting few years. There's been deals coming up pretty frequently with the foreclosure market. So basically, I watch every day on the internet on the multiple listing site to see what any new listings that come on the market. Being very familiar with the Tucson area, most of those addresses, I know what the neighborhood looks like, so I can evaluate them almost instantly, as to the price, the square footage, and what the area is. Because a good deal, $50,000 home in one neighborhood it could be potentially worth a whole lot more if you can find that same $50,000 home in maybe a better neighborhood. The return on the investment is going to be greater. Just because the price is low does not necessarily mean it's a great investment.
I think that's an important factor. Go ahead.
Yes, and then just watching the market, getting to those properties, and writing lots of offers. Wrote thousands of offers for quite a few years here. Probably 5 offers for every one that was accepted with the foreclosures, because everybody wants a good deal. So you have to hopefully get in there quick and secure the property before, the price gets bid way high. So that has always been my goal, is to get in there quick, strike while the iron's hot.
There's something I got to mention here in regards to that. There have been many people that I've worked with, as you have probably over the years. And what people will do is they'll throw out an offer, and they'll take a long time to think it through, at least what I've seen. And I always make the offer obviously contingent upon a final inspection by my, quote, contractor to make sure that it's all in order. And people get discouraged. You have to explain a little bit how many you have to throw out. I know I at one time with 3 or 4 a day, and if you take that by the month, you're looking at 100 or more, and you may be lucky if you get 5%. What's your experience on that?
Oh, definitely. I agree with you 100%. For a long time there, we were writing offers on, I would write some days, just do like 10 offers out, throw out offers. Of the ones we got accepted, few that, yes, we did throw back, after having a little bit more time to analyze them. Most of them, though, we did go in pretty, uh, with a pretty good plan as to where we needed to get it at so that we would be successful should we get the winning bid. And a lot of them you have to, they'll come back at you again and for a highest and best, and that's the hardest part, because at that point in time you don't know what any of their offers are, and you're only bidding against yourself. So you really have to, at that point, do the careful analysis that's necessary to make sure that you don't overbid at all costs just to get the property and have no profit left in it. Some people are more interested in winning than than actually succeeding. So
That is a major area. I do trustee sales, and I see that a lot where people get emotional and they start to overbid and lose sight of what the profit is going to be. You got to have the ability to say, this is all that I can bid, and walk from that transaction. So go ahead. I'm sorry
you're certainly correct on that. You have to be able to walk from it. And the trustee sales are even more of a challenge because you don't even have the opportunity to enter the properties beforehand. So you have no idea what conditions you might be walking into. So that having a contingency plan, you have to be very careful on those, especially.
So once we find the deal, now you are out there looking at getting it renovated. Mm-hmm. So let's say we arranged for the funding. We've got an investor, and now it's got to be renovated. Tell us how you dealt with that end of the business.
The renovations. Well, I'm very lucky right now. I'm working with a flipper who takes pride in the work that he's doing, which is very important in this market. A lot of people want to get in this business. They think, well, they'll just slap a coat of paint on and maybe change out the carpets, and it's good enough. And you know what? It isn't. The buyers today are educated. They've watched. They want the things that they see on TV. The house, it has to look good. It also has to function. We find our best successes when the renovation, rather than just a slap paint and call it a day, we actually get the better return on the investment when we do the full-blown renovation, because then we have new windows. The home actually functions like a brand new home, but yet it's in a central part of Tucson or a central part of the city, where typically things are old and outdated, and buyers really do like being the convenience of having a new home in a convenient location that's close to shops and restaurants. So my flipper, he actually does a full-blown brand new ACs, brand new dual-pane windows. And then sometimes you'll run into the appraisal, but because they're done so completely, I have been very successful at arguing to get a $10,000 bump in the appraised price, because it is like a brand new property. So, and does seem to be that is exactly what the buyers are looking for. They really, really don't want to have to do anything once they move buy a property now.
Now, one of the things I know that your guy does is he fixes it, and if there's ever any callback for anything, he handles it without aggravating anybody. I think that's a very strong marketing end.
Oh, it is. It definitely is. Having somebody with integrity, working with people with integrity and follow through, it gives people confidence. Actually, people see the property and they can tell what kind of a person it is because we don't leave. We don't. The devil is in the details, and there's a lot of attention to a lot of the details that need to be done. When we have home inspections on these properties, they come back pretty much clean. Usually we get an anti-siphon valve on an outside hose bib, and I think he does that just to give them something to write down, make them earn their inspection money. So.
Now, generally, how long does it take to renovate a place and get everything in order? So give us a little bit of an idea on timeline. When you're hunting, you find it, you close it, you fund it, you renovate it, and then you put it up back for resale. What type of timelines are you generally, what somebody should think about that it's going to take?
Your first renovation, I would say you're probably looking closer to 6 months. If you're very well organized and once you've done it a few times, the timeline can go down to 3 months. But first of all, you identify the property. Usually it's a 30-day close, so there's 1 month. Once you close on the property, the guys that I'm working with, they got the whole entire property. Bathrooms are usually taken down to the studs. The plumbing's redone, and then start rebuilding it from the ground up. New roofs. So really, you're looking at 3 months, and we've been very fortunate. These properties that we're putting on the market have been just, flying off the shelves. We've been getting multiple offers within the first week on the properties because they're well done, they're priced right, and they were built with buyers in mind. So it's exactly what the buyers are looking for. So you can probably, a 3 to 6 month timeline. Hopefully you'll have people all lined up to start the project the day after you close. You can probably get it down to less than 6 weeks with a full-time crew.
Now, do you help? I know you do, but explain how you help to get the buyer, the potential buyer comes. You got it back on the market, and somebody calls in. Tell people what you do in order to see that transaction closes.
Well, okay. Kind of a tricky question there. What I do is first of all, the property has been done with buyers in mind, mindful of those details. Just typically we have more than one offer to choose from, so we're looking for the strongest, buyer out there, the one who's putting down the most amount of money, asking for the least amount of seller's concessions on it. I usually actually range price my listings that way, depending on where on what the buyer's needs are. If they need help with closing costs, we have that so that we can adjust the price that to keep that in mind. What also works with the range price is when it does sell for the high end of the range, I can also go back to the appraiser and let the appraiser know that I didn't set the price, that the market actually set the price on the property, which has worked in my favor most of the time. Once we have the buyer, they get qualified for their loan. We do the inspections. The biggest issue we've come up with have been the appraisals, just because the market is coming up, and the comps from 6 months ago probably are not as indicative of what the current market is. And when you have 7 or 8 offers on a property and it's selling quite a bit higher than what anything else is sold for, but you also have to take into account the condition of it. And so I've successfully argued so that we get those closed, that the properties that we're marketing are superior to the other properties that have recently sold in the neighborhood.
Now, what do you think about, I got a note here from someone about staging. What can you explain about staging and when to use it and when not to use it?
Well, staging is really helps people get a feel for the house. If it's done well, it can add thousands of dollars to the property. It just gives a total ambiance. When people walk in the house, they say, wow. And what you want is as many wows as you can, because if they're going wow every time they turn around, they'll be writing an offer on that property. So I always like to bring in, towels and soap dish. I appreciate, if people are out looking at houses, I always make sure there's toilet paper in the bathroom, the toilet seat's down. You want the house to look just like people could just move right into it. And so sometimes, having towels and having some things in the house really give it a little bit more warmth than just bare walls. And sometimes, pictures and stuff, especially if the house has a few warts and pimples.
Stimulating talk.
Gets those synapses in the brain firing really fast.
All the time. The #1 Internet talk station where your opinion counts. VoiceAmerica.com. At Intuitive Strategies, LLC, we provide services to our clients that help them develop a strong education in business. And we also help them to develop a strategy that will allow them to turn their skills into a profit, protect their business and personal assets, and plan for a successful retirement. Our consulting and structuring services include business analysis, budget analysis, management analysis, ability to raise capital from investors, tax planning to minimize tax liability under code, as well as legal structure to protect business from frivolous lawsuits. Intuitive Strategies also provides document preparation services, such as business structuring documents, documents that establish an entity, management agreements, retirement plans, estate planning, wills, and trusts. Let Intuitive Strategies help you with your business. Visit intuitivestartup.com or call us in Tucson at 520-425-8759. Visit intuitivestartup.com today. Streaming live, the leader in Internet talk radio, VoiceAmerica.com. You are listening to Strategies for Financial Survival with your host, Michael Figueroa. If you have a question or comment about the program, please send us an email to support@intuitivestartup.com. That's support@intuitivestartup.com. Now, back to Strategies for Financial Survival.
Welcome back. So we were talking to Brenda about how to market the property. What are critical items that you want to make sure are done so that you can sell the property? And then, Brenda, I'd like to have you go into, after the marketing, what it takes to pick an agent when you are looking to sell a property. So let's talk about marketing the property. What do you do and why do you do it?
Well, typically, as we talked about, I usually do stage the property. I have quite a bit of staging stuff that I've collected over the years. I photograph it. Recently, we've moved into the higher-end homes, and actually I've been hiring a professional photographer to come photograph the properties. It's amazing how many properties are on the market that don't have any photographs of the home on the page. So that's one of my areas that I'm very careful. I always want to get the right shots. I want to make sure that when people click through it, the listing tells a story because now everybody goes to the internet, and the pictures and content are king on that. So as much information as you can give them, and enticing them to want to take a look at it through the remarks that you write in the comment section. Because everything has been done, the homes usually photograph really well. We don't have to deal with clutter or anything. I have had to shoot around projects that were still being worked on, but that were being wrapped up. But that's just the nature of the beast.
Okay. Now, when you're advertising it out, you do multiple. Do you do brochures? Do you do ads in the newspaper? I know that if I was to look at something now, I'd be on the internet. I don't think anything happens in the newspaper. What are the best venues today to market your goods?
Actually, multiple listing service is really one of the best. Our MLS here is syndicated. It goes all over the internet. It goes to therealtor.com. It goes to Trulia, Zillow, Homestep. It goes to all the different websites that are out there. And it does work. I do get quite a few referrals from that. But right now the listing, rather than print ads in the newspaper, what you're putting in the multiple listing service has to have complete information. It has to have good pictures, because really that's where most of the people are going to look for properties, is on the internet. I also do open houses. Usually actually the open houses are so I can pick up more buyers. But I have had people come in and who have bought from open houses, so they are a good vehicle just to increase traffic into the property and maximize the exposure of the property.
I know one thing that's critical. Once you find someone that's interested, before you write a contract up, from what I remember, you want to qualify the person. You want to explain to the audience what that means, and so you don't waste time and take it off the market for somebody that in the old days would be called looky-loos.
Oh, definitely. Actually, most everybody, and for me, when I'm working with buyers, they don't get into my car until they've already talked to a lender. It just doesn't make sense for me to waste my time until they get that critical information taken care of. It's been surprising. I've had doctors, and all of a sudden we're going to get financing, and and they're having a hard time getting financing because they're so busy working they forget to pay their bills sometimes. But so you'd be surprised at some of the people who don't. But no, you definitely don't want to be taking the house off the market until you know that you've got a good qualified buyer that has been to a lender, or if they're paying cash, you definitely want to see the proof of funds, that they have the funds available to close the deal.
And then one of the things when you say proof that there is that they're qualified, I take it you want a letter or some document from the lender saying yes, they are qualified for up to X dollars.
Exactly. Yes, the loan status report, it is required as part of our contract. If you don't have one, it needs to be done. And people who are looking to buy, really, it's the best place for them to start is by talking to a lender and trying to get the funds lined up ahead of time, because that's probably one of the most stressful parts of buying a property, is whether you can qualify for the loan, and getting that question out of the way right away, providing all that information. Then you can shop and have fun because you know exactly what it is that you can qualify for. And so you're not wasting your time looking at things that you won't be able to buy.
Yeah, that's something I'd like to stress a lot is in my early years, and I'm pretty sure in yours, when you start out, you're all excited when somebody says, yeah, I'm interested here, I'll give you an offer, and then, as you mentioned, they have no capability of qualifying for a loan, or they don't have any cash.
Yeah.
So you waste a lot of time on that. In the meantime, tell me, do you find a lot of people that are looking to close now, move in now, or are they I'll buy it now, but I don't have to move in for six months, 3 months, or is it I need to move in within 30 days?
Oh, most people want to move in, pretty quickly. The people who are, even people who are in leases, they do want to move in 30 days. Most of the people who are buying, because of, the economic situation right now, they're not interested in paying for two places, other than, of course, our snowbirds. But, they're not they need to move in. This is going to be their primary residence. They want to move in pretty quickly. That's for the ones that we've renovated. On the other ones, on the fix and flips, the flip homes, when we're buying them, we want to close them. We also want to close those as quickly as possible so we can move through our inventory, or line them up and stagger them so that we don't have too many closing all at the same time, because they do seem to come in waves.
Now, what are the best and worst times to try to sell properties? I know that what I always find is when it hits Thanksgiving, almost from that point until you're in January, it's pretty dead because most people are interested in winding down. Is that true?
That is true. I have always found that too also. And the springtime, of course, is always home buying season. People like to get moved in the, late spring, early summer, especially if they have children, to get everybody settled. The fall, you still have some movement going on, but you're right. After Thanksgiving through Christmas, beginning of January till the holidays are all over, it does slow down a little bit. But then the good news is, the people who are out looking at that time are real serious buyers. So, they're good ones to work with, because they're also very organized people, because they already have all their holiday stuff done.
That makes sense. That's exactly what. So what we've done is we got kind of a spread over starting, where we go, how we do it. Give me some interesting stories of what you see as problems or as good things, so that some people can get an idea of what not to do and what to do. I guess they're called war stories.
Okay. Well, you just threw that out there at me, didn't you, Mike?
Well, let me explain. When I met you, I remember on two of the properties that I had, I believe, explain to people how we connected and why we did business together.
Oh, okay. Well, Mike and I met because I was one of his JV partners had contacted me to see if I had a buyer for his property, and I had told him no, but if he wanted, and he told me he'd pay me 3% commission. So I gave him a rate and said, but I will list it for this. And so we started working together, and that's how I started working with Mike. And Mike had a few other flippers that he worked with, a few that we aren't working with any longer. We had, a few issues, people not wanting to do a complete job. And so a few of those had to kind of take over and, fix them up and get some of the basic necessities. Doors on the bathroom are real important. I
know there was a major area that you helped out on was you can't do a partial half-done renovation. You either do it fully so that you get the person to say, out of the 10 houses that are on the block, this is ready to go. Otherwise, you're just sitting there with inventory that people don't like, and
Yeah.
so
They don't want to buy a house and you can tell. I mean, people who don't take pride in what they're doing, they just kind of threw some money at it, but they didn't care about the end result. I do hear that from some contractors. Well, it's good enough for the people who are going to buy this house. Well, no, everybody wants a nice home. There's not anybody and everybody deserves to have, who wants to work hard and pay for it, deserves to have a nice home. And if you're selling a product, I don't know, I want to be able to be proud of what it is that we're putting out there. And I think that's really important. Pulling something together with baling wire and duct tape it doesn't quite cut it, So and people are, that might have worked 20, 30 years ago, but it certainly does not work in this market. We're finding our big success and really what my flipper does the very best is that he shops very well, and and once you get into the business, you start shopping, you go to different cabinet makers, you go to different granite places, and you get them to compete against each other. And so you're able to give people a very high-end, high-quality looking home, but you're doing it on a pretty good, on a budget. So you're not going to the place that's charging you, $10,000 for your granite. You're getting the granite for $1,500, $2,000. Same granite, just not as nice of a showroom. So, yes, and when I met you, Mike, we had quite a few little properties that, some of them, they didn't have ductwork. I mean, you have to look at
yes.
It didn't have ductwork to half of the house. The guy thought that would be okay. Really big issue these days is homes that have additions done to them that weren't permitted. FHA will not allow that square footage to be counted unless there's a permit for it. So even if it was done 20, 30 years ago, you've got to get compliance permits, and they can ask you you can have to open holes, open the wall, show the sill plates, and really, have to do quite a bit of extra work. And so it's always, important to be mindful and to be working with somebody who's knowledgeable about construction and square footage and what the current, codes are. I know I've gone on hundreds and thousands of home inspections over the years. So, I've learned an awful lot about construction and about, how to fix things. And, so that helps me in analyzing the properties, helps me be able to point out to people. I always like to point out to people the good, the bad, and ugly, give people all of the information they need to make good, well-informed decisions. So even if I see a problem with a property, I'm going to be the first one to point it out.
So Brenda, as a wrap up, now that you've done the renovation, the real estate agent's business, what are the main points that you're happy about since you got into the business? Why do you jump out of bed in the morning and say, I'm going to have fun today versus, oh God, I got to go to work at that office?
I love finding the deals. I really enjoy the transformation, some of the properties that I've bought, that my clients have bought, that, we see so much potential in them, and then to see it all, be put together and have this beautiful product. To me, that's exciting. We're building something. We're taking something that had limited value. The house that we bought for $70,000 that we turned around and sold for $160,000. It had no value. It was horrible. Because of the way it had been cared for. And it just needed to be completely renovated. And it's just so nice to walk back into these beautiful properties that have a whole new life to them.
So there's a good deal of satisfaction in seeing progress there. And I take it you like your time. You can leave, travel, do what you have to do. And, what's interesting now is you can conduct business anywhere in the world by internet. And I take it you've utilized that capability so that you can travel and still run your business without being at a specific office, right?
Yes, that's the greatest part of being in real estate is the flexibility and the ability to set my own hours and to be able to travel and not have to be sitting somewhere in an office, tied to the desk all the time. And I do like to be able to be outside and to go and check out all the properties that we have under construction.
Well, the other thing I know you mentioned was the freedom to make whatever you want to make. There's no limitations.
Exactly.
Well, now we're coming to our end. So, Brenda, give everybody your information, your contact information once again, in case they would like to talk to you about doing stuff for them. Okay.
Well, you can reach me at my website is brendawaddell.com. BrendaWaddell.com, and my phone number is 520-977-0801. And if you have questions or you need some information, you can give me a call, and I'd be more than happy to talk to you.
Very good, Brenda. Thank you for being on the show, and I may be calling you for other shows in the future.
Well, thank you for having me, Mike. It's a pleasure, as usual.
Very good. And so we'll close this show, and we will talk to you next Wednesday on the Business Channel on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Thank you, everyone, and I'll talk to you then.
Thank you again for tuning in to Strategies for Financial Survival. Please join host Michael Figueroa again next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel. Until the next show, survive and succeed.